All right, now that went away, but let's see if I hit start video. That just gives you me. Yeah, sure. Yeah, right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm.
This meeting is being recorded.
Where? Hey, I know. Oh, just a second. Let's see. No, I do this. Here we go. Share my screen. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, right here it says share. Right there it just said share. You see that? I mean, okay. Yeah, down here. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. There it is right here. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. There.
Oh, yes, we can see your presentation
Okay.
slides. Yeah.
Now I'm going to put it on play.
Yep.
So there we go. All right.
Yep. I think we could see your presentation slide. So before we get started, I think I would like to give you a tour in this lecture room.
No. Okay, Dr. Yang, Dean Yang, 1 second. You'll give him a tour, and I'm going to share, okay, because I'm going to introduce him. So,
Should I close this? Should I close my phone? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I did not hear you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm going to interrupt your sharing, Dr. Albright.
Yes, it's
So
okay.
you'll have to come back. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, Dean Yang, all yours. Please take Dr. Albright on the tour
so I will
while
give
we're
you a
getting ready.
tour. Yeah, okay, yeah. So you could see this is a lecture hall. There's 270 students in this hall, and I will walk you around. There's some other classroom on the other side. And outside, you could also see we have a lot of posters summarizing the work of all our students' club. So
Yes.
you could see
Yes.
that this is the students sitting in this lecture hall, and students will keep coming in. Yeah.
Wow.
Can you see it?
Yes,
Okay.
very well.
That's good.
Yes, it's so impressive.
Yep. And then outside here in this hall, you could see a lot of poster. We hang in the posters here, so you could see here are the posters.
Wow.
Here you could see these posters summarizing the work of our students club, and there's more posters here. So I will show you around. These are all posters. Yeah, these are posters. But I have to turn around to show you the poster. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I
Wow.
will turn around. These are the posters. So you can see all these posters. One poster represents one student club. So you can see we have all the posters hanging up here. And we also
Dean
have
Yang,
a lot of students
Can you show-
here
yes.
too. You see
In the
this
overflow
classroom
rooms
full
for
of
you.
students. Wave to
Wow.
our distinguished lecturer, okay? Say hi. Hi.
Right.
Okay, that's cool. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so we will come over here again. 那一间有人吗？对，人多不多？
These are, of course, the large classrooms for the courses during the daytime.
Here we have a full classroom. So this one is the auditorium, and there's some other classroom upstairs, and we also have students from Asian University. They are on the other campus. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is our audience over 1,500.
Very impressive.
Yeah. So I think welcome to our university's distinguished lecture, Master Forum 2023. It is our great honor to invite Professor Lillian Albright to be our distinguished speakers today. He's going to share with us reflection on service in a pediatric neurosurgery center. Before we get started, I would like to invite Vice President Zhang Guo to deliver his welcome remarks. Vice President Zhang Guo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome all of our friends at Asia University, our students and faculty at China Medical University, and Dr. Albright. There are also a YouTube link and a third campus that I'll show you where 60% of our freshmen are. And a alliance of high schools in central Taiwan that have passed the link to their students. So don't be surprised if there are questions from out there. It's wonderful to have you with us. And as everybody can see, Dr. Albright's joining us from the daytime, 13 hours away from Chicago. And it is now 6 a.m. I know you've been up since 5, so we hope that you can make this flight with Susan, your wife, to visit us in person someday. There's non-stop flights from Chicago to Taipei.
Wow. It would be a pleasure.
We are in central Taichung. And these 3 academic campuses of China Medical University all also have students and logging in. You're in the central campus. And our sister university, Asia University, is also just about 20 miles south of us in the suburb. And the other points from north in Taipei all the way down to south in Tainan, and Hsinchu is the headquarters of Taiwan Semiconductor. All the chips running in your phone and my computer and yours. These are locations of our second largest academic health care system in Taiwan.
Okay.
We have 9 colleges, almost 8,000 students and trainees, 530 plus faculty, many of whom trained overseas in the US and Europe. This university integrates Western and Chinese medicine. As I mentioned, 3 central Taiwan campuses with satellite campuses and healthcare facilities. And this new third campus, I'll show you a little bit more, along with a biomedical research park, which is the first in Taiwan to be within a university. We have 6 major hospitals, over 5,200 beds, plus we're building a 7th hospital for the city of Taichung that should open in 2 more years. And we have all the advanced technologies. I'll show you the proton facility a little bit on our new campus, Gamma Knife, Da Vinci's, and MR-guided focus ultrasound. And many global collaborations with National University of Singapore, with University of Southern California, UT Austin, Ludwig Maximilian in Munich, who just came to visit. And recent global and domestic surveys have placed us as both the top private university and our sibling university, Asia University, is the 3rd ranked. And we're also the top medical university.
Wow.
As I mentioned to you, these are the 9 colleges, with the newest being biomedical engineering. And nursing and physical therapy, sports medicine are within general healthcare. We just celebrated the anniversary of the founding of the College of Public Health, which is the oldest in Taiwan. And many of our graduates are running hospital systems and also members of the National Health Insurance and Ministry of Health. As you know, a single-payer healthcare here in Taiwan and a model healthcare system around the world.
Right.
It's just in Chinese, but better yet in English, our rankings, and we're very proud of the achievements of our students and faculty.
Yeah.
A little bit of interest is that it's kind of like UT Austin where I was. The original university, China Medical University, like UT Austin, is in the middle of the city, so we can't really grow anymore. And some of the buildings I show you in pictures, but a schematic with the hospital, University Hospital, 21 stories, the acute care center with a helipad, along with teaching and research buildings and many classrooms. And we have students logging in from this campus as well. But we have now expanded to the original airport here in the north, west. And as you can see, this is Central Park where the fireworks for National Day was just held. And we are in this southeast corner where there's a major investment of the next 10 years and the buildings going up that I promised I would show you. Here are the three buildings. And we are in the Excellence building. In fact, what you just saw was the basement, level 2 of this green glass building.
Right.
Across from that is the Innovations building with the Eye of Inquiry. And of course, I'll show you close-ups of the French Novum Architectural Award-winning dormitory or care building.
Right.
And here is a schematic, and there is the three original buildings that just opened about 2 years ago. And the Proton International Health Center is just across the campus here. And our Biopark building number 1, or C1 and C2, are connected. It's 650,000 square feet of space that will be populated by animal care facility and laboratories and teaching facilities, as well as inviting biotech and biomedical companies. This is a planned athletic facility that will be built hopefully within the next 3 to 4 years, designed by a Pritzker award-winning firm from Spain, RJR. And this is the Pièce de Résistance. Frank Gehry designed this for us.
Really?
It will be a museum of medicine, and it'll be a landmark not just for the campus, but really for Taiwan and the world once it's built, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years. And here, as promised, is a drone view of the top with the solar panels of our excellent care building. Some of the students, I'm sure, are logging in from there. And our innovations building. And this is the view you see behind me. And I pointed out to you that you're giving us a lecture in this building in the basement, level 2.
Right.
So as promised, an introduction to our university. And next, we will have the Dean of Student Affairs, who's joining us online from Asia University, speak to us. I will stop sharing before I come back to introduce you.
Okay.
So here we have Dean Zhang from Asia University, and I will have him move to the stage. There we go.
Okay, yes, thank you, Vice President Guo. Dean Yang, Dean Ling, and our distinguished speaker, Dr. Albright, and all respectful attendees, good evening. I'm Professor Fred Chen, Dean of Student Affairs of Asia University. And here with me are over 30 students from Asia University who are also attending this great event. It's an honor to be invited to attend this prestigious event, and I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to participate in this inspiring gathering of medical minds. Well, this Master Forum has been an event of great significance, not just for the field of medicine, but for the humanity as a whole. Well, in tonight's forum, one of Asia University students from overseas professional social services programs, well, the OPERS in short, will be sharing her invaluable experience with us. Well, it is through events like this that we can share knowledge, learn from each other and develop new ideas that will help us to improve healthcare and welfare around the world. Well, thank you once again for this extraordinary opportunity. Well, let us make the most of these invaluable forums. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice
Thank you
President
so
John
much,
Guo
Dean Chang.
and Dean Chen, thank you so much for your welcome remarks. Then we are going to take a group photo, take a big group photo. So our people were here, come take a group photo. We could show your thumbs up. We were going to take a big a group photo now. I think we could have the thumbs up. Okay. 他们那边都有了吗？你从那边照一下，从那边照有照到他们了，他没有照到，你没有。你要从那边，你这。Okay, then I would like to invite Vice President Zhang Guo to introduce today's speaker, Professor Leland Albright. Vice President Zhang Guo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And it's so wonderful to be able to introduce and bring to you a dear friend and colleague, and I'm proud to say a former partner, Dr. Leland Albright. And there are some things I learned, so I want to share with you too. He grew up in the south of the United States and attended Louisiana State University, where I recently learned that he was the NCAA, which is the National Collegiate Athletic Association. So think of it as he was the American collegiate champion of all the colleges in the United States. He was number 1 in a 600 yards indoor track champion. And his winning time was 1:10 .0. So I did the calculations to impress some of you, and I know there are athletes among our students as well. That's equivalent to 28 kilometers per hour average, okay? Which doesn't sound like much, but it's about 10% the speed of our high-speed rail, which is 280 kilometers per hour. And of course, I'm sure he got his speed up to the 30 or 35 range because you start with 0, right, Leland? That's right. Pretty amazing. And this is on Wikipedia. Everybody can verify this by searching online. So you're all looking at, fellow students and faculty, the American champion in track in 1965. He then earned his MD with honors from Louisiana State University School of Medicine and proceeded to train at Vanderbilt University Hospital, Barnes Hospital, and Washington University St. Louis, as well as some formative years in the neurosciences at the NIH. Yeah. Before training at the University of Pittsburgh with a giant in the field, Peter Giannetta. And then he proceeded to rise up in the faculty ranks, first at Louisville and then back at University of Pittsburgh, to become the chief of pediatric neurosurgery at Children's Hospitals of Pittsburgh, as well as the Leland Albright Endowed Chair Professor, of which he's now retired, so he's emeritus. And he also spent some years at University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I was fortunate to be a partner and also learn a great deal from him before God called him to Kijabi Medical Center in Kenya, where he was the only pediatric neurosurgeon and perhaps the only neurosurgeon for a country of 43 million people and a large, even larger number in East Africa. In his career, which is a stellar academic career, he has published over 200 papers and 48 book chapters, and many of our multiple generations of neurosurgeons have learned from his classic textbooks describing the principles and practice of pediatric neurosurgery and operative techniques. And these are still sold on Amazon. You can look these up. And with Susan Person, his life partner and work partner and wonderful wife, he has lectured around the world and received some of the highest honors in pediatric neurosurgery and highest neurosurgical honors from our colleagues in the American Association of Neurological Surgeons with the Humanitarian Award, the Congress of Neurological Surgeons Founders Laurel Award. He's been listed as best doctors in America many years for his expertise in pediatric neurosurgery, for brain tumors, for hydrocephalus or fluid on the brain, as well as really advancing a brand new area of treatment for dystonia, which he will describe to you, and also advancing through the FDA with an IND, the use of intrathecal baclofen for the treatment of these very much debilitating and challenging neurological disorders. And as you will see today with his talk, it's not surprising he's won many teaching awards, multiple years at all the institutions that he has been at. And I'm so glad that he is joining us to speak about reflections on a service in a pediatric neurosurgical career. And I would like to say a very stellar one that is a role model for all of us. And certainly, Dr. Albright, you are a master teacher, and that's why we have you here with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, John.
So let's give a warm round of applause to welcome Dr. Albright.
Thank you.
Dr. Albright, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. John, do you want to begin sharing my screen now?
Please go ahead.
I think you will need to see.
I have stopped sharing, so it should be possible for you to share now.
Yes.
Perfect. Here it is.
Okay, good. There we go. Can you see that?
We see the title screen, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we begin. Thank you for the privilege and the honor of being with you today. When Professor Kuo initially invited me to present this lecture and told me about the accomplishments, the reputations of people who had given this lecture previously, honestly, I was uncomfortable about giving it. But then he told me about your commitment to community service to help the lives of people who are less fortunate and disabled. And I realized that you and I share that same goal. And so I accepted his invitation. In this talk, I will tell you about 3 unexpected ways I have been able to help many children with pediatric neurosurgical disorders, most of whom are less privileged and disabled. When I finished my medical training at the age of 35, I was a slow learner. My early clinical research focused on pediatric brain tumors that you see the yellow arrow pointing to. But this condition affects only 2,200 children in the entire United States every year. I worked with a children's cancer group developing prospective clinical trials with different methods of giving surgery and radiation and chemotherapy. But my career began to change when I went to a pediatric neurosurgery meeting. One morning in that meeting, I gave a very ordinary paper about surgery to remove a particular kind of brain tumors in the center of the brain. The paper was nothing unusual. But that afternoon, I heard a lecture by Dr. Warwick Peacock from South Africa entitled Selective Posterior Rhizotomy for the Relief of Spasticity. And my career began to change. Now, spasticity, what is it? It's a type of muscle tightness that has increased resistance to passive muscle stretch. So the faster the muscle is stretched, the greater the resistance. And spasticity causes progressive contractures and deformities and disabilities. Children with spasticity in their legs, that's called spastic diplegia, look like this child. You see that he's up on his toes, his legs are scissoring, and his movements are very stiff. That's what spasticity does to young children with spastic diplegia. Think with me about the physiology of normal muscle tone. So it depends on a balance between incoming excitatory impulses, that's the plus, impulses that come from muscle spindles, come into the spinal cord and release two excitatory neurotransmitters. But then coming down from the brain, there are impulses that release an inhibitory neurotransmitter, gamma-aminobutyric acid. And if these two impulses are equal, muscle tone is normal. But in spasticity, the excitatory impulses from the muscles continue to come in, but because of brain damage, which you see the X's up in the brain, and that occurs in cerebral palsy, there is a deficiency of the descending inhibitory impulses, and that results in spasticity. Well, Dr. Peacock realized that he could treat this excess of excitatory impulses. And in his paper, his presentation, he described separating each nerve coming into the spinal canal from the legs and feet into their top half that carried the exciting impulses and the bottom half which carried movement impulses out to the muscle. And then he separated that top half into smaller branches and divided 50 to 80% of them to decrease the excitatory input. He taught me the technique of dorsal rhizotomies. I established a multidisciplinary spasticity clinic to treat children with spastic diplegia with rhizotomies, and I found it to be highly effective. This is a 5-year-old girl who is walking on her toes with short, jerky strides. This is preoperatively. And then postoperatively, you see she's not on her toes. Her strides are much longer. She still has some contractures at the knees and needs orthopedic surgery, but she was dramatically better. And the effectiveness of rhizotomies was confirmed in 3 large trials. One in Vancouver, one in Toronto, one in Seattle. The trials compared rhizotomy plus physical therapy, that's in the white, with just physical therapy, that's in the black. And the effectiveness was confirmed in all 3 centers. So this was a treatment for children we previously had no treatment for, the thousands with spastic diplegia caused by cerebral palsy. Well, the numbers of children coming to spasticity clinics steadily increased. But as the numbers increased, we saw children whose cerebral palsy caused spasticity in both their legs and in their arms. That's called spastic quadriparesis. But what can you do for them? Do you operate on the back and then on the neck and try to improve them? Well, here I found my first way to help. For many years, I had read the New England Journal of Medicine every week. It's a journal that very few pediatric neurosurgeons read. And I read an article in 1989 by Dr. Richard Penn and his colleagues in Chicago that was entitled Intrathecal Baclofen for Severe Spinal Spasticity. The article said that they had treated 20 adults who had spasticity in the arms and in the legs because of multiple sclerosis or spinal cord injury. And they treated them with intrathecal, that means into the spinal fluid, baclofen. Now, if you remember the descending inhibitory neurotransmitter, GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, this is its chemical formula. And the chemical formula of baclofen is almost identical. It's chlorophenolbaclofen. And so it acts as an agonist of GABA. It's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. And Dr. Penn and his colleagues implanted a programmable pump in the wall of the abdomen. They connected a small tube to the pump, tunneled it underneath the skin around to the back, and then inserted it into the spinal fluid. Oral baclofen, almost none of it gets into spinal fluid, but this puts the baclofen directly into the spinal fluid. And what did they find? Well, in their 20 adult patients with multiple sclerosis, on the top left, you see their Ashworth scores, that's their spasticity scores, drop dramatically. Top right, the same thing with spinal cord injury. And on the bottom, their spasm scores, both improved. And so that raised the question in my mind, would intrathecal baclofen treat children whose cerebral palsy caused spasticity in their arms and legs? So I got permission from the National Institutes of Health to do a randomized blinded study. And I did spinal taps every day for 6 consecutive days. On the first 2 days, they received placebo or low dose baclofen, and then placebo or middle dose, and then placebo or high dose. But it was blinded. They did not know what they were receiving. I did not know what I was giving. And when we looked at the results, you see that the top line with the black squares, that was placebo. And every one of the doses, low, medium, and high, significantly reduced the spasticity. And so I implanted pumps in 37 of the children. Now, did it treat their spasticity? Yes. You see here their Ashworth scores, significantly coming down in the legs and in the arms, and this is a 3-year follow-up. We published that in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Not only did spasticity improve, but upper extremity function, activities of daily living, and a test called the gross motor function measure, all of those significantly improved. And so intrathecal baclofen improved the care of thousands of children with spastic quadriplegia, and it happened unexpectedly because I read a journal most pediatric neurosurgeons do not read. But as the numbers of patients increased, we began to see children and young adults with a different movement disorder that cerebral palsy can cause. This disorder, dystonia. This is a young boy who has dystonia in his arms and in his legs. And this older girl has dystonia in her trunk and in her left arm and in both legs, and she was mentally normal. Dystonia is a movement disorder characterized by sustained muscle contractions that cause twisting and abnormal postures. There are 3 main forms of it. There is primary dystonia, in which the genes, particularly the DYT genes, are abnormal. This is very rare, and the MR scans of the brain are normal. And then, second, there is heredodegenerative dystonia, associated with hereditary and degenerative conditions like pantothenate kinase deficiency. These are unusual, but they're not rare. and the MRI scans of the brain are somewhat abnormal. But then, the third form, the common kind, is secondary dystonia, secondary to structural abnormalities of the brain that can be caused by cerebral palsy or trauma or strokes. It's common, and the MRI scans are abnormal. An adult neurologist knew of my work with intrathecal baclofen for spasticity and referred a 35-year-old woman to me. She had severe generalized secondary dystonia after an anesthetic disaster that had happened when she was 5 years old and during a tonsillectomy, and he asked if I would put a baclofen pump in her. So this was how she had been for 30 years after her anesthetic disaster. She's mentally normal. He asked if I would put in a baclofen pump, and I said no, increase her oral baclofen more. Well, he did, and it didn't help, and he sent her back to me. Oh, what do you do here? There's no operation and no medication known. So what I did was a double-blind testing for 6 days, like we did when testing for spasticity. The first 2 days, placebo or low dose, and then placebo or middle dose, and then placebo or high dose. But at the end of the 6 days, I saw no improvement. So I said, Danelle, what do you think you got? And she said, well, on day 1, I got this, and day 2, I got this, and 3 and 4. 6 out of 6 days, she correctly identified what she had received, although I could not see any improvement. So I put in a pump, and 2 days after her surgery, 2 days after the surgery, this is what she was like. Her dystonia was resolved. Her movements were intentional. It was a dramatic response. And she remained improved by spasticity, by the baclofen for 15 years until she died later of a different cause. We published the first 89 cases with ITB for dystonia, secondary dystonia. Most of them, 70%, had cerebral palsy, but there were many other conditions that we treated. And what we found was that it decreased dystonia in 90% of the patients. And they reported subjective improvements in ease of care and quality of life in 85 or 6%. And unexpectedly, function in speech improved in a third. Currently, we've done this for over 20 years, and we've treated more than 400 dystonic patients with ITB, although in the last 3 or 4 years, we have been infusing it directly into spinal fluid in the brain rather than in the spinal canal. So ITB has improved the care of several thousand children and young adults with secondary dystonia. And it happened because I listened to a patient who said she had experienced improvement that I could not see. Now, the third way I've helped came from an email one day. September 26, 2001, the email subject was neurosurgeon needed, and it was from R. Bransford at kajabi.net. I never heard of R. Bransford. I never heard of Kajabi. Well, it turned out that R. Bransford was Dick Bransford, who was a career missionary orthopedist in Kajabi in Kenya. On the left, you see Kenya is right on the equator, and on the right, the arrow points to Kajabi, just over 1 hour northwest of Nairobi. This orthopedist had been seeing children with hydrocephalus, That's too much spinal fluid in the head. You see the scan showing how much fluid is in there. And he was seeing children born with spina bifida. The spine was open at the bottom at birth, so legs down to the nerves to the legs and feet did not work. And on the left, you see the spinal cord coming down and ending in this flat tissue. He had begun seeing those in 1997, and over the next few years, he had closed the spina bifida. That's the blue slides. And he had treated the hydrocephalus with VP shunts. Those are shunts, tubes, put into the ventricles in the brain that contain spinal fluid, tunneling the tube underneath the skin into the abdominal cavity, and the abdomen absorbs that excess fluid. So I began going every year or so for 2 to 4 weeks back to Kajabi to teach and operate, and over the course of the next few years, the numbers increased a bit. In 2009, Dr. Bransford was ready to retire, and Susan and I both felt that God wanted us to move to Kajabi to do and to teach pediatric neurosurgery, and so we did that in September of 2010. Kajabi Hospital was the ugliest hospital I ever saw. The things you showed me today were awesome, but this is what we worked with. It was a 254-bed general hospital founded in 1915 by the Africa Inland Church, and its mission was to give good care to people who were less fortunate and disabled, just like you are trying to do and like I tried to do. I wanted to teach pediatric neurosurgery fellows, and I taught Humphrey Okechi, a Ugandan. The first year I was there to do pediatric neurosurgery, and then he became my colleague in Kajabi. I wanted to teach neurosurgery residents. And during the years we were there, 16 residents came from Nairobi up to Kajabi. They have no pediatric neurosurgery. In fact, there was none in East Africa. And 18 neurosurgery residents came from the United States to see and to do and to learn things that they would never learn here. And we wanted to teach via publications. And my wife, Susan, created a database and inputted the data on every patient. On the top left of this, you see this is the data on patient number 4,431. And every patient had all of this information recorded. And from all of this data, we published 17 manuscripts. Let me tell you a bit about clinical care, though. When we got there, there were about 15 or 20 patients on the ward. After a year or two, there were 30 or 40 patients. We made rounds for up to 2 hours every day before I would go to the operating room and Susan would go to the clinic. We generally did 5 cases a day. Humphrey would do 4, he operated 4 days a week, and I operated 4 days a week. We just couldn't operate every day. We did over 100 cases a month, 1,200 a year, and more than 5,000 cases in the 4 years, with the assistance of a few visiting neurosurgeons that came for 2 weeks. It was helpful to have years of experience before Kajabi. I knew from experience that this child had a form of a tethered spinal cord, so that the spinal cord came down from the head and turned and ended in this fatty mass. Patients presented late. They came with advanced conditions, partly because they could not afford to come. I got this information about a child with a condition like I just showed you. The mother is trying to get her ID and travel permit. The father is going to the cattle camp on Sunday to sell his cow. I hope by the end of next week the papers are ready and the cow is cashed. They couldn't afford to come, so they went to traditional healers first. They were cheaper. Now this boy was taken to a traditional healer because he had chronic worsening headaches and was treated by burning 4 spots. He finally came to us, and the yellow arrow points to the large tumor that he had in the back of his head. This boy went to traditional healers for months with worsening back pain and increasing weakness in his legs. And his MRI scan shows that that area of the spine had been just destroyed by tuberculosis. We admitted about 2 patients every day with hydrocephalus, most commonly caused by spina bifida, but second most common post-infectious. On the left is a scan of a brain, how it should look early in an infant. But on the right, you see the extensive brain damage after an infection. These babies were taken to the government hospital because they had fever, seizures, vomiting, and they were irritable. And the doctor said, well, your baby has malaria. And they were given antimalarials, when in fact, an infection had come in through the umbilical cord, gotten into the spinal fluid, up into the brain, and just destroyed it. We saw 250 cases of spina bifida every year. So many because they have many children. The mothers never take folic acid when they conceive. They ate maize, that's their corn, contaminated by mold. And the mold, the fungus, produces fumonisin. It's a neurotoxin that damages the developing spinal cord. And there are no abortions, of course, in Kenya. Treatment decisions about tumor patients were so difficult. If I saw a 5-year-old boy with this large brain tumor in the back, I know that this is a malignant brain tumor, a medulloblastoma, and I can take it out. But if I take it out, he would need chemotherapy and radiation therapy, and they could be given in Nairobi or in the far west in Eldoret if the patients could get there and if they could pay for the treatment. But if they couldn't pay for it or get there, should I operate? And then treatment decisions about hydranencephaly were difficult. You see the CT scans, the arrow pointing to spinal fluid that occupies 90% of the head, just a little bit of brain in the back. In the United States, in my career here, I saw 3 cases. And in Kajabi, 52 cases in the 4 years. And there is no way to cure that. So let me give you some reflections on our 4 years in Kajabi. There were negatives. There was a chronic stress of so much work, so many complications. There was disorganization. That's just a kind of a characteristic of their medical practice. There was equipment failure. All of my equipment was donated and brought from the United States, much of it used. And the hallmark of used equipment is that it breaks. And if it broke, you could not repair it. Nursing care was poor. And several babies or young children died because of poor nursing care. And that was so hard. And the role of money. Patients would ask us for money to help pay their bills. Hospital guards would ask us for money. But on the other hand, there were positives. We treated more than 5,000 children, taught a fellow in 34 residents, published 17 papers. I felt prepared to go there because of all the experience before going, and a peace that we were where we should be, doing what we should be doing. And overall, those were the best years of my life. To be given 2 rabbits as appreciation for the way I took care of a child was priceless. Thank you for the great privilege of speaking to you today. Do you have any questions?
So let's thank Dr. Albright for his fantastic experience sharing. Give him a warm round of applause. So, do we have any questions from the floor? Any questions from the floor? Any students? Okay, let's please give her the microphone. You can state your name and your question clearly.
Hello, my name is Ivy, and thanks for sharing with us. And I want to ask, as a student now, is there any chance to participate in the international social service activity, and what are the channels?
So is there any possibility for students to participate in international social service, and what are the channels that they could use to participate?
Tell me what you mean by social service. I mean, do you mean medical care or care for nutrition or other things?
Like the medical, like the medical things.
Yes. Yes, there are several opportunities. Many of those opportunities come through faith-based organizations, but there are some that are not related, not associated with any church, that are humanitarian. And of course, you know about Doctors Without Borders. And there are also opportunities, if you got trained to be in nutrition, for example, or physiotherapy, you would have the opportunity to go to medical centers in different countries and be on the faculty and do what I did, take care of patients and treat other people to do what you know how to do. And that would be invaluable. Great question.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
I want to ask one
Okay.
more. Okay. As a professional doctor and professor, what is the most rewarding thing you have gained from the engaging in the medical service?
As a professional doctor, what is the most rewarded when you engage in this kind of philanthropic service?
Well, it's not one thing. It's to be, it was, first of all, to take care of patients. And I, in my career, have taken care of about 13 or 14,000 patients. And secondly, it has been to teach young doctors, to teach them by lectures and to teach them by the 3 editions of the medical textbook. And I'm deeply grateful for both of those. I think my life has been blessed by God, but we are blessed to be a blessing to others.
So any other questions from students? Any other question? So before students come up their questions, I think I would like to ask Dr. Albright. So since you have practiced in the United States for 32 years, and then you spent 4 years in Kenya, you found out that hospital environment and the nursing care are poor. And when you were there, won't you feel frustrated, even though you are very skillful neurosurgeon? Won't you feel frustrated when you teach in this kind of horrible condition?
Yes. Yes. Susan and I felt frustrated many, many times, almost every day.
But what
But we
made you
felt like-
continue for 4+ years?
We thought we were where God wanted us to be and doing what God wanted us to do. I mean, and there was a peace about that. So it sounds like a disconnect, but in spite of the frustrations, there was a peace about it. One time I went to the operating room to do an emergency operation on a boy with a big blood clot on his brain. He was dying. And I opened the skin quickly and I asked for the drill. And the assistant said, "I'm sorry, Doctor, it does not work today." So then you get the old-fashioned drill to make the holes in the head, and you just, one of the things you learn there is patience. And if you don't have it when you go, either you learn patience or you go home.
Okay, thank you so much. So any other questions from the floor? Any other questions? One or two more questions?
May I ask a
Yeah, there's
follow-up?
one more question here. Yep,
Well, let the student go first.
yep.
Since you said that sometimes the machines break, so if it break during mid-operation and you didn't have the supplies, and then if the patient died, whose responsibility would it be? Because I know in the US is a lot stricter about it.
Well, sometimes equipment would stop working because the electricity went off in the operating room. And I was under the operating microscope doing a brain tumor operation. But when that happened, I got my battery-powered headlight and put on some loops and finished the operation. I do not recall any case in which the patient died during the operation because the equipment failed. But one time I remember a 5-year-old boy dying on the table because there was no blood available to transfuse him with. None had been ordered before the operation. So there was a lot of grief there.
Yep. Any other questions? So, Dr. Albright, do you
I'm
have...
going to,
Yep.
may I ask real quick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Dr. Albright, if some of our students who aren't pediatric neurosurgeons, but they're studying nutrition or they're studying nursing or pharmacy or dentistry and they're interested in going to Kijabi or places like that, would there be a role for them, and would you even recommend that for young people like themselves?
Yeah. There probably would not be a role in Kijabi because, believe it or not, they do not welcome visiting nurses. And secondly, because the nurses that they would work with would not be able to teach them anything. They would probably teach the nurses. But there would be larger centers. There are a couple. There are some in Eldoret in Western Kenya and a couple down in Nairobi where they could both teach and learn. Yes.
So, Dr. Albright, do you have any advice for these students who are willing to devote themselves to this kind of philanthropic medical service? Do you have any advice for them?
The thing that comes to mind is to go into an area of medical service that sort of touches your heart. I mean, for some people, like for me, I wanted to do pediatric neurosurgery. Most neurosurgeons do not want to do that because there's so much grief in it. Other people want to take care of patients who have had head injuries. Some people want to take care of patients who are mentally ill. All of those are needed. So go into the area that sort of speaks to your heart. You have a compassion for people who have those conditions. Thank you. That's a great question.
So any other questions from the floor? Anyone? I think this is a great opportunity for you to learn from the role model, Dr. Albright. Yeah, so if you have any question, raise your hand. If not, let's thank Dr. Lillian Albright for his warmth, for his fantastic sharing of experience. Please, let's give him a warm round of applause again.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a privilege to be with you.
Before we close this section, we have a thank you trophy to present to you on behalf of Vice President John Guo. So I will present it to you here. Yeah.
We will show you what will come in the mail.
Okay.
And it's not from me, it's from all of us in our university. It's fantastic.
So can you see the thank you trophy?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Not yet? Yet? Can you see it? Can you zoom me?
Dean Yang, don't stand next to the TV. Go farther away because it's too bright. There.
Okay.
Okay.
So can
there
you
you go.
see?
Yes.
Dr. Albright, can I see it?
I cannot see it yet, but I can look forward to it.
Move closer and focus on Dr. Dean Yang. There you go. There you go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So there's
Beautiful.
Taiwan in here. So
Uh-huh.
if you see, you could see. You could see Taiwan. I pointed here. This is Taiwan. Yeah. So
Right.
there's some words on this trophy, and then this is Taiwan. So we are looking forward for your visit to Taiwan at your earliest convenience.
Well, thank you. That's so meaningful. I
Yeah.
will treasure it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we will mail this to you. I think our colleagues will mail this to you. Yeah, after this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good.
So the next, we are going to have two student club to share with their experience, and then we would like to ask for advice from the Dr. Albright. So we will have the students to present their presentation, and then we need you to give them some advice. So we have two student teams here. The first team would be medical students volunteer service team. And I would like to introduce, this is the most historic volunteer service club at China Medical University, the Medical Students Volunteer Service Club. And this club was established in 2010, 13 years ago, and is a club dedicated to volunteer work. This club will host 5 programs and 2 camps annually, and their target groups include Aboriginal kids, elders, developmentally delayed children, and also children from a dysfunctional family.
Oh,
So they aim to develop empathy, learn to see others' needs, and ponder on the ultimate meaning of service through volunteering. They do hope to attract more students and more individuals to join their club. Now, I will hand over this floor to Hank. He is the leader of the Medical Student Volunteer Service Club to share their experience. Hank, the floor is all yours. Can you see the screen, Dr. Albright?
I see a group of students that are sitting down and it says relive happiness in summer.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Jen Ng, and today I'm going to represent our summer camp. Our service team is called Happiness Medical Service Team, and our summer camp's name is called Relieve Happiness in Summer. And before we get into our summer camp, I want to introduce to everyone that we have 5 mid-semester projects. And first one is Jiafu. And this one is we cooperate with the Taiwan Fund for Children and Family. We go to there and work with their social workers to help the developmental delayed angel, which they are children. They are very little children, as we can see in this picture. We help them to provide their normal life and help them to get into some courses and make them live better for some times. And similarly, we have Xing Wang Ai here. We go to the Intelligence Development Center there and help the adults developmental delayed angels. And as though they look like us, they are adults, but their mental is like children. So even they look like adults, we treat them, they act like children, and they are very pure. And so we go to there, and also we work with the social workers and help them to live better and help them to learn some knowledges. And the third one is Dao La Ji, is the top mid one. And Dao La Ji means eternal happiness in Korean. And we go to the Central Region's children's home there. And they are the targets are the dysfunctional families' children. They are from the elementary school to high school students. And they do not have a normal family, so we go to there and just try to help them to get into society and help and teach them some things, like the health care or other things that they normally cannot learn from their family. And the next one is Zhu Guang. We go to the Minghe Junior High School and help them to teach them some courses, help them to prepare the exam for the high school. And also we bring to them some activities, and so that they can, other than the courses, they can have a time to do the activities and present their enthusiasm. And the last one is Dibon. We go to the Shuanglong and the Di Li tribe and go walk into their home, the elderly's home. And we would take some blood pressure for them, and we go to there and accompany them because a lot of elderlies, their children are out for work, so they are living there alone. So we go to there and just look out after them and check in, because sometimes they would come here to CMU hospital for some regular inspections or some medical treatments. So we go to there and make sure they are good in health, and we go to there and accompany them. Other than the 5 projects, we have winter camps and summer camps. The winter camp and summer camps basically is the Zhu Guang and the Dibon condensed into a 5 to 7 days camp, and we'll go to there during our winter break and summer break. So I'm here to talk about our summer camp. And summer camp, first of all, for the elderly, we have some gathering and home visiting. As you can see the pictures, we gathered a lot of elderly there. So in this picture, we go to the Dibon church, and we teach them how to make the flowers. yeah, this elderly in the red shirt is called Mother Kim, and she is a very delightful and a is a cheerful person, and she is very talkative and she likes to share the life with us. And we are there to gather them together to do some activities, not only to make the flowers, and we would also have some dancing, yeah. And in the right picture, it is the home visiting, and we can see that our team members are taking their blood pressure and making sure their health condition is in good position, yeah. And also, we walk into the Minghe Junior High School. We have a lot of different courses and activities for them. For instance, in the left picture is called International Education. We combine the puzzles and the international knowledges to let them have an opportunity to participate in learning different kind of countries. Like in this picture, they use puzzles to build out I think it's Netherlands. Yeah, a picture of Netherlands. And in the right picture is a science experiment. And this is a hydraulic pressure rocket, and they are watching the video to show them how to do it, and they will do it once by themselves. The purpose of the summer camp is to connect Dimon and Zhuguang, because our service there, eventually our goal is to live there. We cannot always be there for them to give them some knowledges or learning, because we would leave. So we want Zhuguang or summer camp yeah, to like plant a little seed in their children's heart, because it's the core of the tribe. The junior high school students would be a very essential place in their tribe. So we want to plant the seed in there, and like they can grow a concept that they would just give back to the society and help the tribe to become a better place. And Dibon is to take care of the elderly, to remain the service learning and make the elderly can have some chances to give Zhuguang students, like the Minghe Junior High School students, some advice and learning for them to become a better tribe members in the future. And I want to share some stories about summer camp, because they have a very, very good choir in their school. And when we go to the summer camp, our camp is, their choir is near to go to a contest in Korea. So they have to, they have to spend a lot of time to practice. And a lot of choir students are not so willingly to come to our summer camp because they think it's too tiring. But although they are kind of forced to come here, but our students, our members in the service team is very enthusiastic and just give so much attention to them and ask them, like, giving them a platform for their bad emotions, and we listen to some of the things that they wouldn't talk about in their normal life. So after like 3-4 days, they become more and more like willing to attend, come to our summer camp, and they are more and more delightful. And we are kind of touched, because it is not so easy to change a person's concept, but our activities really make them like us. And after the camp, they even want to keep us in touch and just want to participate, and they like us more and more willing to come to our summer camp. And more importantly, they learn something in our summer camp. At least they can take away something. Although not be everything, but it's at least a little fire in their heart. Yeah. And yeah, thanks for everyone's hearing, and hope may everyone find happiness in your life. Uninang mi humisang. This is the thank you in the Bunong language. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your great presentation. And the second student club I would like to introduce is from Asia University. It's Grand CAA Overseas Professional Social Service. The CEO, Yi Xin Li, will present this part. Yi Xin Li participated in the 2023 Grand CAA Overseas Professional Social Service projects and served as the CEO of this project team. And these projects consist of 9 members that are from Asia University, and they visit Malaysia and also combine social service learning with visits to university and corporations, providing rich opportunity for their learning and personal growth. So now I would like to hand over this floor to Ms. Yi Xin Li, the CEO of Grand CAA Overseas Professional Social Service, to share their experience. Yi Xin, the floor is all yours.
Good evening, teachers and students. My name is Lillian. I'm a sophomore from the Department of Accounting and Information System at Asia University. Today, I would like to share about our visit to university, business, and social service in Malaysia during the summer vacation. The name of this project is 2023 Grand CAA Opros, with the primary objective of sending 2 teachers and 9 high-achieving students to Malaysia for a social service learning program. Based on their respective expertise and skills, and incorporating the APBL teaching model, we designed activities for the Tirotana Welfare Society in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We visited 3 top universities in Malaysia during our trip. At the University of Malaya, Professor Dr. Azmin arranged a tour introducing us to the university's history campus and the Asian Art Museum. Among other highlights at the University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Vice Dean Professor Dr. Ali provided insights into the International Recruitment Week, the unique features of their business school, and the content of their courses. As for the University Putra Malaysia, which was originally known for its agricultural programs and is the largest university in terms of land area in Malaysia, they shared insights on Putra University's internationalization efforts and the unique features of its School of Business and Management. We were incredibly honored to visit the Yangxin Pharmaceutical factory in Malaysia. This was my first time observing how a factory operates, produces, packages, and sells pharmaceuticals in real life. President Li Fangxing of Yangxin Factory also gave us valuable advice. Don't just look at the world from a Taiwanese perspective. You should look at the whole world and have an international perspective. Upon reflection, this statement is indeed accurate. Living in Taiwan, we are accustomed to Taiwanese culture and life without regular international exposure. It's challenging to access new information from abroad, making it difficult to break out of our comfort zone. The most essential and important part of this trip was our social service project in collaboration with NGO. Before departure, we were tirelessly preparing and planning for the activities, considering various aspects each day. Even in Malaysia, when we returned to the hotel in the evenings, we were constantly discussing and improving our project. Despite our meticulous planning, there were still many variables that required us to adapt on site. For instance, we had prepared an English introduction, but we discovered that the elderly individuals on site spoke different languages. Some only spoke Chinese, some only English, and some even spoke Cantonese. This posed a challenge, and I was worried that I might not perform well. Throughout the process, I was nervous and spoke too quickly. However, the attentive and smiling face of the elderly gradually helped me let go of my anxieties, allowing me to interact with and enjoy the moment with them more comfortably. On the evening we returned from the elderly care facility to the hotel, I found myself pondering, what can we do to help these lonely and vulnerable elderly individuals? Do I have the ability to make a difference? The old me might have thought, oh, they are so unfortunate, and I would never let my family end up in such a situation, and without taking any concrete action. Now, I contemplate how I can provide substantial assistance to these people. They are profoundly lonely and often all they need is a little companionship. So volunteering during my free time as a short-term volunteer is something we can all do. I believe that when you feel like life has hit rock bottom, going out to spend time with the elderly and helping others can open up your heart and souls. There's nothing in this world that can be overcome, and no difficulty is insurmountable. As long as I keep looking forward with a mindset of contentment, yet a drive to progress, I can certainly overcome any challenges that come my way. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Thank you.
So, Dr. Albright, so do you have any advice or comments for our two students service team?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you. Great. Very well.
First of all, I am impressed because your students are using their abilities to help people that are less fortunate and disabled. And there are very few universities that have students with that kind of compassion. I'm impressed. I applaud the work you're doing because those students, instead of being focused on themselves and getting higher grades and more money and bigger cars and all of that, they see people who have needs. You showed me different kinds of needs in the elderly, in handicapped people, and mentally handicapped, and so on. But they see those needs, and they are willing to give their abilities to help people. I think that's what our lives should be doing, giving ourselves to other people instead of doing what most Americans do, which is focusing their life on themselves. So I applaud you. I congratulate you. I think you are doing what God wants people to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Albright. Thank you. Thank you so much. Vice President Zhang Guo, do you have any other comments?
I'm just amazed at the amount of learning that we have from you, and really wonderful for you to spend that early morning with us.
Yeah.
And I'm also excited that our students are able to show you a different part of what they do outside the classrooms. And I hope that we will be able to see you here soon in person, you and Susan, so we can show you around and also have the students meet with you.
Well, thank you. It was a privilege and a pleasure. I'm grateful.
So let's give Dr. Lillian Albright a warm round of applause for his sharing of his fantastic experience as a pediatric neurosurgeon and give us insightful advice on our two students service team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we look forward to welcoming you at China Medical University in Taichung, Taiwan. Dr. Albright.
Thank you again for the privilege and the honor.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then I would like to declare today's Master Forum officially closed. Let's thank Dr. Albright again. Thank you so much, Dr. Albright.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will see you soon in Taiwan.
We hope.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you so much again. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So thank you very much for your participation. So we will, I officially declare that this Master Forum closed. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much, Leland. It's wonderful. And please give our best to Susan as well.
I will. Thank you for the privilege. I thought it went well, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Take care now. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
too.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day. Yeah.
谢谢各场地还有线上参与的同学。那同学问卷连结，如果要博雅时数的话，一定务必要写到200字心得，中英文都可以。那开放时间是到晚上9点半。那就是今天的活动到这边结束，各场地的同学都可以离开，感谢大家的参与。